All right, so are you ready to dive in?
Always up for a good deep dive, especially with this collection of articles and facts you've gathered. You weren't kidding about that whirlwind tour.
Yeah, it's like we're hitting fast forward on the world's weirdest newsreel. From tech showdowns to global tensions, with a dash of pop culture and some seriously strange happenings, you've outdone yourself.
Well, that's the beauty of it all, isn't it? It's a snapshot of the world right now in all its messy, interconnected glory. So where do you want to start?
Well, OpenAI has been making some bold moves lately, urging investors to pick them over rivals like Elon Musk's XAI. That's not exactly subtle.
No, not at all. That's a power play if I've ever seen one. OpenAI securing that $6.6 billion in funding, that's a clear sign they mean business.
It's like watching a high-stakes poker game, and OpenAI just went all in. What does this mean for the future of AI, though?
Well, if they become the dominant force in generative AI, think about it. They could shape everything, how we work, how we consume information. It's a lot of power concentrated in one place.
Makes you wonder, are we witnessing the birth of a tech giant or something even bigger? And speaking of big changes, imagine software that could make programmers like 100% more productive. That's what one article claims AI could unlock.
It's a fascinating concept. Algorithms that can anticipate a programmer's every need, automate those tedious tasks. It could revolutionize software development. But of course, with this level of automation.
Yeah, I was just thinking, what happens to all the human programmers? Are we looking at a future of overqualified coders with nothing to do?
It's a valid concern for sure. But instead of framing it as humans versus AI, maybe it's more about adaptation. What if programmers could work alongside AI, using these tools to push the boundaries of what's possible? It'll require some serious upskilling, no doubt. But it could also usher in a whole new era of tech innovation.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential upside here. But let's shift gears a bit, because no deep dive would be complete without a dose of global intrigue.
Yeah.
And you've definitely delivered on that front. We've got escalating tensions between Israel and Iran, ongoing conflicts involving Russia, and just a whole lot of uncertainty in the world right now.
It's a complex web, no doubt. Historical grievances, conflicting ambitions, clashing ideologies, and every day seems to bring news of new developments, potential flashpoints. It's a lot to untangle.
One of the articles you sent even mentioned Vladimir Zhirinovsky, the late Russian politician. Some people are claiming he predicted all this current unrest.
Zhirinovsky, right. Well, he was certainly known for his colorful pronouncements, let's say. But wasn't he more about grabbing headlines than making accurate predictions?
Yeah, he always did have a flair for the dramatic.
While some of his statements might seem eerily prescient now, you have to remember, he often relied on hyperbole and generalizations. It wasn't exactly nuanced analysis.
So maybe we shouldn't hit the panic button just yet. But speaking of unlikely alliances, one article you shared talked about the strengthening bond between Russia and China. They're calling it an unprecedented level of cooperation. What's your take on that?
It's definitely a development worth keeping an eye on. On the surface, it might look like a marriage of convenience. Two nations looking to challenge what they see as Western dominance.
Right.
But it goes deeper than that. They share a desire to reshape the global order, to move away from a U.S.-centric system. Whether this partnership will last or whether it will actually reshape geopolitical dynamics in the long run.
Yeah.
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
It's like we're watching the tectonic plates of global power shifting right in front of us. And if that's not enough to make you reach for a stress ball, we've also got some juicy tidbits from the world of pop culture.
It seems no deep dive is complete without a little dose of pop culture drama.
You said it. This time, it's music mogul Diddy facing some serious accusations.
Right, and just to be clear, these are still allegations?
Absolutely. Everyone is considered innocent until proven guilty.
But even so, the nature of these accusations, we're talking sex trafficking, racketeering, it's definitely a big deal.
It really makes you think about the darker side of the music industry.
Behind all the glitz and glamour.
Huh.
Yeah, it can be a tough business.
Definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on as the story unfolds. Now, on a lighter note, one of the articles you shared mentioned Saturday Night Live is celebrating a pretty big anniversary.
50 years. It's hard to believe.
That's huge. They even got a new film Saturday night, looking back at the show's legacy. It's amazing how SNL has managed to stay relevant for so long.
It really is. I mean, think about all the changes in comedy over the years. What's considered funny, what's considered off limits. It's constantly evolving.
It makes you wonder, can SNL still capture that same magic today?
That's the big question, isn't it? I've heard mixed reviews about the latest season premiere. Some people say it feels a little outdated, out of touch.
Yeah, I can see that.
But others say it still has those moments of brilliance, those sketches that really make you think or laugh out loud, or both.
Maybe it's a bit of both. Like they're finding ways to adapt to stay fresh.
Right, while still holding on to that core identity.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see what the next 50 years hold for SNL. But enough about human comedy and controversy. You also sent me some info about, well, let's just say the more peculiar side of things. You know me, always up for some good weirdness.
For example, did you know that scientists have found that the dye they use in Doritos, that cheesy, finger-staining goodness, can actually make things transparent? Seriously. It's called tartrazine, that yellow-orange dye, and researchers have used it to make certain tissues transparent in a lab setting. They even tested it on mice.
So we're talking see-through mice, thanks to Doritos dust. That's wild.
Well, it's not quite as simple as that, but it does make you wonder what other secrets might be hiding in our snack foods.
Right. Okay, on to another internet rabbit hole you sent me down. Floppa.
Ah, yes, Floppa. That floppy-eared feline who's become a meme sensation. It's incredible how these things happen. One day, it's just a cat with big ears. The next, it's inspiring video games and fan art.
It's like the modern-day equivalent of those ancient Egyptian cat deities. Speaking of unexpected cultural phenomenons, remember that guy who traded a red paperclip all the way up to a house?
Kyle McDonald, a classic.
I was surprised to realize that all happened back in 2005.
Time flies when you're making internet history. Speaking of history, remember those global tensions we were talking about? You sent over an article about those persistent rumors of alligators in the New York City sewers.
Oh, the sewer gators.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me wants to believe it. It's such a classic urban legend.
It definitely captures the imagination, those scaly beasts lurking beneath the city streets, emerging from manholes.
It's like something out of a horror movie.
Right. But in reality, the idea of a whole gator population thriving down there, highly unlikely.
So probably more like a few lost reptiles than a full-blown reptilian invasion.
Exactly. But hey, it's fun to think about. Speaking of things that are both real and imagined, one of your articles mentioned Vladimir Zhirinovsky again.
Yeah, Zhirinovsky. He definitely knew how to grab headlines. It makes you wonder, will people still be talking about today's newsmakers decades from now?
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Which stories, which figures will actually stand the test of time? Speaking of time, one article you shared really caught my attention. It was about a cat named Dewey.
Dewey?
He was a library cat from Iowa.
Library cat?
Yeah, and get this, he passed away over a century ago, back in 1910.
Wow, over a century.
Yeah.
What makes Dewey so special after all these years?
Well, he was found as a kitten, abandoned in the library's drop box. The librarian, Vicky Myron, she nursed him back to health, and he became this beloved figure in the town.
Oh, that's sweet.
They even have a statue of him now, and a children's book about his life. It's a reminder, isn't it?
Well,
the bond between humans and animals, and how even in our digital age, a simple story, like Dewey's story, can still resonate.
That's a nice thought. Okay, before things get too sentimental, let's swing back to AI.
Right, back to the big questions. One article you shared highlighted how AI is transforming the workplace. Programmers using AI to complete 126% more projects, for example.
126%, that's huge.
It is. And business professionals writing 59% more documents, all thanks to AI assistance.
Those are some impressive numbers. It really highlights how quickly this technology is changing the game. What does it mean for jobs if we're all that much more productive?
It's the big question, isn't it? Will we all end up working fewer hours? Will some jobs become obsolete?
It's both exciting and a little bit daunting at the same time.
Absolutely. It's a technological revolution, and we're right in the thick of it.
Well, on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. From global power plays to internet memes and even a century-old library cat.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And to our listener, thank you for diving deep with us today. We hope you've enjoyed this whirlwind tour of the weird, the wonderful, and the thought-provoking.
And who knows what we'll uncover next time.
Until then, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep diving